All right, Monday morning, Auburn recap and SEC. How did the rest of the SEC fare here in week number 10 of the college football schedule? Glad to have everybody tuning us in this morning as we go live, as we do every single day. Auburn falls 17-7 to Vanderbilt. So whatever little momentum they had coming out of Kentucky has been squelched, and we'll talk about some numbers. I guess I'll start first here. It was another very disappointing offensive game plan, in my opinion, from Hugh Freeze. Again, I said this last week after the Kentucky game, tongue in cheek, but I was being serious. I said it'd be the most Auburn thing for Jarquez Hunter to come out and have like 10 or 12 carries. Well, he had 12 carries for 50 yards, and I don't get it. I mean, I just really don't. And look, and I can hear everybody talk about, hey, well, the game didn't dictate that he carried the ball, and he had 15 yards on his first carry. Are you telling me that the rest of the game you thought he would only have 35 yards after he ripped off a 15-yard run? So I'll start there. To me, that sums up who we are offensive play calling wise. We don't use our strengths, and we got some strengths. I don't even want to get into the quarterback play yet. I'll let you kind of piggyback off what I opened with. It is amazing that you have a running back go for 278 yards one week and come home and go for 50. I don't understand it.
Well, it doesn't make sense. I'll start with Hugh Freeze. I sound like a broken record, but here's my take on Auburn football. You go back to Gus Malzahn. It's I'm going to call the plays. I don't have time to call the plays. I need to go out and get a coordinator. And then, no, I'm going to call the plays again. You know, the biggest problem I have in the press conferences and just listening to Hugh Freeze, who is nice that he opens up and does give you some talking points out there. But the biggest problem I have is it doesn't feel like he's taking complete and total responsibility for how bad this offensive team is. That's the reason he's at Auburn. He's not at Auburn to create a great defensive football team. Yes, he's the head coach, so he needs to create a great defense, but that's not why you pay him the big money. You pay him the big money because he's an offensive guru, a quarterback whisperer is what we were told, and that's not what we're getting. And at the end of the day with Gus Malzahn, that's not what we got with him either, Brett. We had pretty good defensive football teams. And we got a pretty darn good defensive football team right now with a lot of youth. Probably the youngest Power 4 defensive unit from a snap standpoint that's playing out there in the country. And they're putting us in a situation where we should be winning more football games. So the responsibility from a coaching standpoint, X's and O's, on game day lands solely on Hugh Freeze. He's the one that chose these guys for the most part. He kept Peyton Thorne on as quarterback. And if I have to hear him say that we're going to have to dummy the offense down even more than we have so far, that will make me totally pull every hair out of my head. Back to the running back deal. The only guess I have is he was somewhat injured. It's the only thing that makes any sense, Brett.
He didn't say he was.
Well, they didn't say he would, but you wouldn't say he was. I mean,
he didn't say it after the game. I mean, he didn't even say it. He said he looked gassed. I mean, come up with something better than that.
Well, I mean, he could say he looks gassed, but I understand if you don't want to throw your running back under the bus and show that he's not durable. I get that. But there was a game plan going into that football game on Saturday for Jeremiah Cobb and Damari Austin to get the football more. Now, I don't know if the reason for that is to keep those guys around next year, knowing that the football season that we have currently is done for. But early in the football game, you saw Jeremiah Cobb and Damari Austin getting carries. That wasn't a change based off of an injury that Jarquez got 2 or 3 carries into the ball game. I wonder if he had some issues from the previous week. It's the only thing that makes sense. If he didn't, Brett, there is no sense to be made.
He started the game. I don't buy any of that. Here's the way I look at it. He started the football game at a 15-yard run. I mean, he carried the ball 11 more times the entire game. He only touched it twice in the second half. I don't know what, number one, I don't know what he would be gassed from. In the last drive of the game, they tried to get him the ball. They tried to throw it to him out of the backfield. It don't make any sense. I mean, look, I appreciate you trying to make sense of it. I do. I really do.
What's the only thing I could think of during the game, Brett? Is he hurt? He has to be
he
hurt.
wasn't hurt. And look, if he was, I'll eat my words. Okay. I mean, if he's hurt, then why did he come back in the game on the last drive? So, let's move on from that. That's a complete. That's idiocy number one from Saturday. I'm gonna throw a stat out there real quick. With that loss, Auburn's guaranteed to finish with 5 or more SEC losses for a 4th straight season. You know the last time Auburn did that?
I don't remember.
You know why? Because you weren't even a thought. It's 1927 to 1930. Okay? Back when there was a Great Depression going on and nobody gave a crap about a football game because everybody was starving to death. Okay? So that's how long it's been. It's almost been 100 years. But we've hit a low in this program in the last 5 years that you and I, nor any other Auburn fan for that matter, even including the late 70s, have ever seen. I mean, it's just a very poor product on the field. And guess who keeps showing up every Saturday? Auburn fans. Guess who keeps supporting? Auburn fans. I mean, I don't know why the leadership can't get things right. I don't know why Hugh Freeze is on the golf course all the time. Does he care that he's 3-6? I mean, somebody needs to ask that question. Somebody needs to ask him, is he putting extra hours in to try to fix it? I mean, I appreciate the recruiting. I do, man. I love getting updates, and we got a new 4-star defensive end looking at Auburn and narrowed it down to 3. And we got the top-rated quarterback in the 26th class looking at Auburn, had a great trip and wants to come back. And all. I hear all that. But, man, our product on the field sucks. It sucks, man. And I hate to just be so blunt, but I'm sick of coming back home to a place that now we can just absolutely wipe out the lore of Jordan Hare. I mean, the teams that have rolled into Auburn the last 2 or 3 years and won there have completely erased any kind of lore that building has. And that's a shame because it is a really great place to play a college football game. It is the reason a lot of kids come to Auburn when they're on a visit and they go, man, this place is electric. I want to play here. But the coaching product on the field has not come to fruition over multiple staffs. It trailed off again with Gus Malzahn. Brian Harsin was horrific, should have never been hired. And now here we are again, feeling like we've all been sold a bill of goods once again from a coach that when you look back and you see what Kevin Skarbinski said, he never has been a winner in this conference. Save 1 year, he never have. I think he's 19-21 all time in the SEC at Ole Miss. I'd have to go back and pull that stat. I've got it too. But that's where I am with this, man. I mean, you have drifted down to the lower tier of this conference.
Well, the biggest problem I have, though, is Vandy, too. If I'm supposed to buy into a rebuilding project at Auburn every single year, I'm fine with that. I have already, at least gotten to the point where I go, that's just what I chose 47 years ago. My granddad and my father made certain that I became an Auburn fan, and I've got to buy into a rebuilding project just about every year as a football fan. But the biggest problem I've got is a team like Vandy, with the talent that they have, rolling into Auburn, and outside of a Rivaldo Fairweather catch off of his shoelaces that he gets into the end zone with an unbelievable effort, Auburn doesn't score against the Vandy defense. Diego Pavia did not beat us on Saturday. They didn't bring a Cam Newton-esque quarterback in here and outscore us 42-35.
If anything, we played him better than anybody's played him.
They beat us 17-7 for the first time ever coming to Auburn and winning a football game. That's where we are.
First time ever they've ever won a game.
That's where we are. And every conversation we hear from anybody that's the head coach at Auburn is how bad of a product they were left with. No, man. That product you have on your team and the amount of support that you've got there's no comparison at Vandy. No comparison at Vandy. So any excuse you make, all of us are tired of hearing it. And you could see it in the second half in the stadium, Brett. I don't know. You weren't there on Saturday. But second half in that stadium, there was a disgusted set of
I heard the
Auburn
boos.
fans.
I heard the boos.
I mean,
I heard the boos.
It's getting to the point where, and we saw it in 2012 with Gene Chisholm. I was sitting with you most of those games until you decided there ain't no way you're going to get me back in that stadium.
Not going back. Not going back.
You got the sense on Saturday at the end of that football game, and you looked around, there's nobody left in there. And look, you can say you're a fair weather fan and you ought to be sticking through the low points. Well, man, this isn't a 1 year, one-off low point. This is an every year we've got to buy into a rebuilding project. At a certain point, you do get disgusted.
Well, do we ever build? Because all we do is rebuild.
I name the last time you came into a season for Auburn, and I've got the years in mind where you really felt like Auburn was returning a good football team that should compete in the SEC.
17.
Well, 18. Because 17,
going into 17 with an added quarterback that we felt like was probably going to help did. You know, and there was still some ambiguity there. So I give you that.
I had a lot of question marks going into 17. I didn't necessarily have as many going into 18. Same with 13. I definitely didn't think we'd do what we did in 13.
No, we just come off the worst year ever.
I felt like we'd have a great football team in 14 that could compete for a national championship. But we had one of the worst defenses in the country that year. The only reason that team didn't go far. But my point is every year.
Well, let me ask you this question. Well, what is our administration doing? And we have John Cohen down there now, and it seems like, and then Hugh Freeze continues to say, oh, you know, we've got full support and everybody's so great. And we got great, you know, fans. And, you know, I'm sorry that we put it, but then, you know, then we hear about stuff going on, you know, that he's not, I mean, dude, he's won 3 games. I mean, get in office, figure it out. I mean, he's off living a Playboy lifestyle, like everything's hunky dory, and this team's 7-1, and they got everything ahead of them. They're in the playoffs, and you know, and we can keep selling the story to everybody that, well, if we'd have had this happen, or if we had to turn the ball over so much, and this, that, and the other, we'd be 7-1 or 8-1, but we're not. We find ways to lose. Our offense is anemic. Here, okay, you want a clear picture? Yeah, I had somebody tweet me Saturday after I posted something, and they said, what did you really expect out of Hugh Freeze? I said, I expected a coach that was going to come in and show improvement from one year to the next. I said, we haven't seen that. So then I got to digging and going, well, did I overestimate Hugh Freeze? Did I give him credit for something that he had never done? Let me go back and do a little research myself. Well, it didn't take me long because Kevin Skarbinski had posted something. He said Hugh Freeze is 4-10 in SEC games at Auburn now, after going 19-21 at Ole Miss. He never been out a winning record. So this is a continuation. He has lost 6 or more games in 4 of his 7 years in the SEC, both years at Auburn. Now, again, Gus was hard to stomach at times, and he was an average coach, okay, by SEC standards. He was an average coach with a couple outlier years in there. But this stat is still a stat. Gus only lost 6 games one time in 8 years. One time. So this is who Hugh Freeze is. Or did we get sold again? I mean, was this a deal where we didn't have another option? I mean, I know Lane Kiffin's told the story. He pretty much said he's come out now and said he was coming to Auburn, but his daughter didn't want him to leave. I mean, that's a given. That's out of his mouth. He said, I was coming to Auburn. I was ready to make the move. My daughter said, don't, Daddy, I'm leaving you. If you leave again after you've hopped all over the country, I'm not doing this anymore. So he stayed at Ole Miss. I'm not saying he was the answer either. I'm just saying that it came down to those 2 guys. And now we get Hugh Freeze, Here's the second chance. Everybody, we caught hell about all that. Remember all that? And y'all hired this guy with a burner phone and all this kind of stuff. I don't know I don't know what his daily schedule is. I'd like somebody that knows a little bit more about what he's doing, because I can tell you coaches that I know and you know how hard they work in high school and college. Even when they got one loss or no losses, they burn the midnight oil, man, because it is so important and they are so obsessed with winning. And if we got somebody off gallivanting around after they just got beat at home by Vanderbilt 17-7, and then on Sunday he's just whatever, when's my tea time? I've got a tremendous problem with that, and that is on the administration at this college, once again, not holding people accountable.
Well, it's perception. It's total perception. And, if you buy into being a football coach, you do buy into some crazy hours. And I have no grounds for knowing exactly what's going on there. But if there is any truth, of course, that's questionable. But the biggest issue I have is there's nothing for us to do now, Brett. We got to live with this another year. We don't have a choice.
No, you can't fire him.
No,
people need to just quit saying that. Just stop saying
that's over. Now next year he comes in. I'm not talking about the seat kind of warm.
Blazing
hot fire underneath him coming into next year. And, I think he's a better recruiter than I even thought he was. So I don't want to totally throw him under the bus. It's an amazing job he's doing recruiting. And he's retaining these guys that he's got committed. That's an amazing job. As poor of a product as we're putting out there on the field, these guys seem committed to him. So I don't want to.
I hope they are.
There.
I hope they are. And here's some comments for you. I'll let you respond to them. The atmosphere at the game Saturday, Tony said the atmosphere at the game Saturday felt like the Arkansas game before Brian Harsin was fired. Okay, you were at the game. I'll let you come back on that. John said, when the bank is given to these coaches, what impact does that have on the hunger of many of those coaches? Look, a great point. When you hand everybody everything up front, it really is about the person and the drive inside. Because if they've already had it given to them, what is their motivation to push forward and to be better? Justin said, where does Auburn's talent rank versus the teams they lost to this year? And then Glenn said,
better than all except Georgia.
Correct.
Better than all.
Correct. You're better than Cal. Better
than all.
Yeah, you're right. I don't even have to go through all of them. Glenn said, how do you keep this upcoming recruiting class together? And you hope that, again, this coaching staff has some type of way of luring these guys in and getting them to buy in that they can be the difference. And look, we have seen a lot of younger guys on this team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, really contributing, namely one, DeMarcus Riddick. That guy has improved drastically, and he's getting more playing time, and he seems to be – the future's bright on that side of the football with Jay Crawford and DeMarcus Riddick and Keldrick Falk and all those guys. It's getting better over there, okay? I mean, we're starting to see it. Offensively, we got just as many, if not better, weapons. The problem is Cam Coleman once again caught one pass, Randy. One pass. Okay? Now, everybody says, how did we lose? Peyton Thorne was 20 of 29, 200 and something yards. Do you know how many catches were made that were miraculous catches? Number one being the Rivaldo Fairweather touchdown. Now, it's not like this guy was throwing the ball on the money. I mean, 4 or 5 of those catches, completions, were just sheer unbelievable effort by receivers. Take those off the table, and he's like 14 or 15 of 29 for not near the yardage. He misses Luke Dill wide open going down the middle of the field. I don't. Perry Thompson. I mean, where was he again? Malcolm gets the ball 3 times. The offensive side of the football is a total disaster. I love our defense. So let's talk about that for a second. It's only half of this football team, and it happens to be the half that Hugh Freeze is responsible for. Okay, so let that just kind of marinate too for a second.
Well, I keep saying that. My problem is we keep hiring offensive-minded coordinators first that turn into head coaches with the expectation they're going to come into Auburn and we're not going to have a problem offensively. We got to figure the defense out, but we're going to be great offensively. We've bought that for how many years now? 15?
At least.
Somewhere around that. And back to Gus Malzahn's start. And what are we getting? We're not getting good offensive play consistently. And I can't look and say that Vandy's more skilled than we are offensively. I mean, come on.
Don't even.
Give me a break.
Did you not see
and I don't need to hear that Vandy only gave up 103 yards rushing to Texas. Man, that's Vanderbilt. We just got whooped at home by 2 scores by Vandy. And a short turn for their coach. It's not like he's James Franklin in his 10th year at Vanderbilt.
And everybody
was
this
amazing product together.
And everybody was upset at the field goal where we had the, Keldrick Faulk jumps on the back, and I know that was all kind of controversial. Did you have any confidence, though, even if they only kicked the field goal and go up 13-7, that we were going to go down and score? I mean, I didn't. I mean, no. It would have ended 13-7 instead of 17-7. And, here we go blaming the officials. That's what bad teams do when you lose a game and we find something at the end. Oh, that call, man, that was look, it probably was a terrible call. But at the end of the day,
it's a loser mentality.
That's a loser mentality. That is a loser. Why were you even in that position? Right?
Yeah.
Why were you
what I've always heard.
The defense did their job. They gave Auburn a chance, but there's no chance. I've watched it time after time. I watched it in the Oklahoma game. I watched it in the Missouri game. There's no chance Auburn's going to drive down the field and win a football game. Ain't happening, man. Not with Peyton Thorne at quarterback. He just cannot make the plays. And his demeanor in the locker room, on the interviews, I don't even know what he's saying. I mean, just go back and look at his interview. It is the most mumbled up nothing burger that I've ever heard. He doesn't even provide any intelligent insight into why. It's just now it's like, yeah, I got to go back and watch the film, and we just got to play better, and we got to win out. We got to win out if we want to beat them. Win out? Win out? How about win
one game? Yeah.
Win one game. Forget winning out. I'm so ready for it just to be over.
Well, let me go back to a couple of the comments that you had. First off, the atmosphere in the stadium. The best I can compare it to, and this is a game that you will remember really well, was Tuberville's last year. Playing Tennessee at home, 0. When I call it 0 offense, just 0 offense.
It was terrible.
Couldn't find it at all. Cody Burns back there at quarterback. That Franklin nut calling offensive plays for us. I mean, so painful to watch. That's what I felt like in the stadium on Saturday. Just Auburn fans there showing up, expecting better. And at the end of the day going, man, I've seen all this. I can stomach. I'm leaving. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here.
Did you see Florida State Stadium yesterday? Saturday.
Was it pitiful?
Pitiful? Those people have completely given up down there. They not even a semblance of saying, hey, what are you doing Saturday? I can tell you what the hell I'm not doing Saturday is going to Tallahassee to watch that dumpster fire. That's what they're saying. And then there's a clip online of 2 fans literally on the rail right behind the bench, and they're just giving the whole team hell. And the team's like, you know what, man, I don't even care that they're back here because I know we suck. And the security guard standing beside them is going, man, these guys paid to come in here and watch this. I'm going to let them get it out of their system. They ain't hurting nobody. They're not attacking anybody physically. They just letting their frustrations come out like that kid did with James Franklin walking off the field at Penn State. Like, here's the NIL fatigue, Randy.
Yeah.
These fans are tired of this. So you know what? You want all this money and you want to do all this crap. Well, get ready to catch hell from everybody because everybody's sick of you going out there, well, donate some money, help me out, solicit this, solicit that. And then Florida State's just like us. Absolutely no reason they ought to be 1-8. Unbelievable, dude. Where that program is.
amazing how far you can fall off. But the other question that you had in the last comment was the question on, in the new day and age with coaches getting so much money up front and guaranteed money, can you expect this? If you hire the wrong one, you can. If you hire a guy that has a past that is questionable, I hate to say it that way, and that's what we got. But if you hire Jimbo Fisher, where you go and you watch what he did to Florida State, he burned every bridge on the way to Tallahassee heading out to Texas A&M, pocketed $75 million, and put a terrible product out there on the field outside of a year or two.
Boy, he has left
guaranteed money.
A trail.
My point is, when you choose a questionable character type and it doesn't work out today's football, they just leave and take the money with them. And I don't have an answer. I feel for Cohen. I think a lot of Cohen. I do think we've got a very good athletic director. And I think a lot of things at Auburn are run exceptionally well in that athletic department. I think the basketball program is better than it's ever been. None of us want another coach outside of Butch Thompson. We love him. He had a bad year last year. Do you hear anybody asking for Butch Thompson's head?
No, not a single thing. No.
He could have another losing season, and I'd say, what are y'all talking about? That man's a great
Guess
coach.
What he did? He just went out and had maybe the best recruiting class in the conference this year.
So my point, women's basketball, I think, is about to come up.
Women's
soccer and women's volleyball is as good as it's been. Women's tennis is unbelievable. I can keep going. I'm not knocking Cohen. You know, a lot of us, I don't think I've bought in as much as others, but a lot of Auburn fans bought into this Freeze hire. And I think they bought in for the reason that he's showing right now. Can you win with the best talent on the field with great recruiting and mediocre coaching? We're going to see. We're going to see in the next. He's got one more year. Now, that talent he's bringing in, it better do something next year, because Auburn fans are not going to sit back.
Well, he don't have a next year after next year. I know that sounds stupid, but you talk going back to the Blazing Sea, it is. And so how does that affect you coaching when you're all – I don't know how he could be any more uptight than he is this year, because all he does is talk about how it stresses him out, trying to make the right play. I want to throw some more comments out at you. John said Pavia's stats were not great. AUSD bailed Auburn out, and it's Auburn's offensive ineptitude. Glenn said, what if he is coaching for a buyout? Hunter should have 2,000 yards rushing. I'm almost with you, Glenn. He came in as the best running back in this conference. And look, I can hear everybody that covers Auburn come up with, well, the game plan didn't predicate, and the situation put Auburn in the position where they couldn't run. Screw that. Okay? Go sell that to the guy down the road, because you're wasting your time trying to sell that to me now. I'm not listening to that. Tell me that Jarquez Hunter after the game was banged up, he couldn't go, and I'll say, man, okay, makes sense now. But when you say he's gassed and he carried the ball 12 times, I know Jarquez
2 times in the second half.
He ain't gassed, dude, because I watched what he did the week before, and he had 278 yards. Justin said, why don't they throw the back shoulder to Cam Coleman 5 to 10 times a game? Great question. Who the hell knows? I would love to know. That's the $1 million question. He only gets 1 to 2 targets a game. Braxton said, who do you think is a realistic option to replace Freeze? I hate to even go down that path right now, but I think it's about to start ramping up.
I don't know. Look, hey, I'm going to say exactly who I said. And I fought and I screamed for 2 or 3 years, and we didn't hire him. And Auburn fans, they've got a lot of reasons why they don't like him. But I promise you we wouldn't be in the situation we're in if Deion Sanders was our coach. You didn't want him. A lot of people didn't want him. But I'll tell you one thing. We'd be a lot better football team, and we'd have a lot of national buzz, and there'd be eyeballs all over Auburn University if we go that route. And look at Colorado.
Well, there's one guaranteed thing that would have happened, is that regardless of how long he would have stayed, now he's probably going to leave Colorado this year. That's like, let's be honest about it. But Shedeur Sanders running around making – we all know that the biggest problem with Auburn overall is Piss poor quarterback play.
I said it then, though. I said you're buying a couple of years with the best quarterback in the country, his son coming with him. But we're Auburn, man. I tell you, sometimes we overthink it, and we've got people that they got all the answers. Well, all these guys on the backside that give all of this money have gotten us where we are for a very, very long time. I don't know who we are. We have no culture anymore.
Guess what I figured
like my
out?
point. Let me finish, Brett. We used to be hard nosed. We used to be tough. We used to take Quentin Riggins of the world and Kirk Cranes of the world and make teams hate playing us, despise playing us because of how physical and that brand of football. And we sit down here in the Southeast in the state of Alabama where you and I see them every Friday night. We're hard-nosed kids down here. We raise them that way. But we've somehow got a soft program right now. Now, I'm not knocking what we're getting this year defensively. I think they're playing way over their head. But I don't know who we are. You know, we have nothing that we go and sell and say we're running back you anymore. We can't say that anymore. We can't say that we're out physical everyone on the line of scrimmage like we did every year that Pat Dye was there in the 80s. That's who we were. We knew we had better Bows and Joes on that. So I don't know, man. I'm so frustrated with it. It's such a far product. It's far removed from what we had growing up. I can tell you that.
You know, running back heck, we had Tank Bigsby and Jarquez Hunter, and you don't use them. I mean, so it's not that you don't get the guys down there to continue that tradition. We got idiots that won't use the talent that they have. That's the frustrating thing. And I hear what you said, and I agree with it. I mean, you know, it's you know, who are you mentality. It's an identity crisis. It's always something around those deals. So you're going to hear names in the off season. Whether we want to go down this path or not, you're going to hear names brought up again because Auburn's about to win 3 football games this year. Okay? They've won their last game, I think. Maybe La Monroe. They may beat La Monroe. They got their own issues.
I doubt it. Unless we change quarterbacks, I doubt it.
All right, so I saw all that Saturday night. Why would you not play Walker White at this point?
No clue.
Why do you keep running Peyton Thorne out there?
No clue.
What does I would tell him, dude, appreciate you coming to Auburn. I'm sorry it didn't work out, but we got to move forward. I've got to build this team. I got to show these guys that I'm bought into the future and that I'm building, and you're not going to be here next year. So I'm moving on. You know, you can quit. You can stand on the sidelines and help. You can be a team guy, whatever. But you're not going to be the starter anymore, and you're not contributing. So I'm moving on. But I don't have any faith at all that Hugh Freeze is going to do that. I think Peyton Thorne will be starting against Alabama.
Let me make my final comment because I want to get a rebuttal from you. You know, we all threw Philip Montgomery under the bus last year.
Yep,
but
sure did.
At the end of the year, if you don't think we had things going in a better direction than we do this year with Hugh Freeze calling the plays, we're looking at a different football team. At the end of the year last year, Peyton Thorne, he may not have been the best throwing quarterback ever. We had found some things that he could do. And he carried himself well on the field. And he competed. And he could run the football. And he was able to put enough yards up to keep us in most of those games closing out. And I don't know what the heck happens to us in bowl games. We're pitiful in bowl games. But the last few games, Montgomery had us looking much better. So that's another concern, is if we're supposed to say, all right, Hugh, you stay as the offensive coordinator. Yeah, you got Derek Nix there with you, and you got a couple others that you're counting on, that your guys. I got a lot of question marks there, too. Do you?
You know, here we go. You know, this is the same. I do, too.
Gus Malzahn, man.
But here's I saw a bunch of this Saturday night, too. I don't have any faith that he'll do it, but he needs to get totally out of offense. He needs to be a head football coach.
He'll never do it. He'll always have an excuse if you do that.
Well, you know, then there's your answer. And so the last few comments, I know we got a bunch of people watching. We could probably go for 3 or 4 hours, and I know we got to get off here. I've got to get on the road. We got to shoot a show, another on the road show this morning. So looking forward to that. But I do want to get to some of these comments because I appreciate everybody that watches and listens. I know you do too. John said, John Summerall at Tulane and formerly Troy has been mentioned. Justin said FSU, Auburn, Central Florida, Norvell, Malzahn, Hugh, all high school coaches, all not doing so well. Have the defensive caught up? I'll let you respond here in a second on that. Kyle said somebody better grab Signetti from Indiana in a hurry. I know Lashley is doing good at SMU, but I'll pass on the Gus tree. I heard Lashley's name mentioned this weekend. Justin said, what's Auburn's record with Cam Ward or Riley Leonard at quarterback this year? Way better than it is right now. I'll go ahead and answer that.
Well, if it's Cam Ward, we'd only have one loss.
And that would be close. We would have been in that ball game.
We were in the ball game, and he could have won it for us. I mean,
he could have made some plays to win it.
He would have had to have been the very best player on the field that Saturday. But
and I think he probably would have been.
Yeah, we'd have won.
But guess what? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. But you're exactly right. Give the Georgia game. Cam Ward would have Auburn with one loss, sitting in the top 10, definitely in the playoff talk.
Yes.
Glenn's got a couple more, and we'll end with these last two. Top recruiting class doesn't mean they are ready for SEC play. So if so, play white. I agree. And I'll let you answer this one. What are your fears about the transfer portal opening?
I see a couple of players that I can't imagine them coming back. But I don't want to say those names because I don't want to jinx
let's not drop any names.
But I do look at it and I go, man, that why would he? Why would that person come back? So for what? Hey, we can knock Hugh Freeze and this staff, and you and I have done it for 37 minutes now. One thing we can't knock him for is it feels like the recruits are staying on board, and the young guys that we're hearing from in the locker room don't sound like they're planning on going anywhere. Now, he's a magician if he pulls that off. He is. If he keeps that recruiting class intact and he keeps all of those young guys that he got last year intact, he's on the back end selling the right things. And he's there for another year anyway. It doesn't matter what we say on here. So, no, I think we're going to retain most of these guys.
I do too.
I really do.
I do too.
And but back to the other question, I know you got to close. Whatever it costs to go and get the very best quarterback that we can get is what we've got to do. Now, if Walker White's the answer in the future, go ahead and play him this year. If you're already convinced that he's not the answer, because it can't hurt anything. There's no way it could. What can it hurt? We just sat on here, and I think every Auburn fan I talk to thinks if we play great, we're going to win one more football game. So what does it matter? You have nothing to lose. So see if he is right now. One, we've already seen a little bit of Hank Brown. You may can show a little bit more of him too, Brett. There's nothing to hurt there. No. There's nothing to play for. We're not winning all these games. We're not winning out. That's a total joke. But if it's very clear these last few games that those two can't get the job done, because Deuce Knight's not going to get the job done year one.
No, and everybody needs to just quit thinking he's going to come in here and start. And
you've got to go spend whatever money Cam Ward got and whatever money, which Diego Pavia didn't get, but keep going that. Whatever money
you brought up the Deion Sanders deal, and that route, we could have gone that route and got Shador. We missed out.
Oh.
But you could have gotten Cam Ward this year. He had as good a stats over there in the Pac-12 as Shador Sanders did. And he was the best quarterback on the market. And he wanted to come to Auburn. He visited. His interest was there. Whoa, no, we're gonna keep Peyton Thorne. And it's like Braxton's comment. He said half the receivers, in his opinion, will split since we didn't address the QB. They were told that Peyton Thorne was going to be good enough to get them through this year by Hugh Freeze. And now, obviously, he's walking all that back. He's talking about, maybe now we've heard from people inside the program say he's going, I probably should have gotten him. Well, no kidding. And we all talked about it and screamed up and down before the season started. Why didn't we go get somebody in the portal because we knew there was a really good chance we'd be sitting here talking about. Now, I didn't think he played this bad. I didn't think Peyton Thorne would be having the season he's having. But, man, it is horrific. I mean, it's bottom-dwelling horrific. So, we missed – again, it's all on him. You say it all the time. He chose these guys.
Yeah, he chose it.
So, he is responsible for not going and getting somebody like Cam Ward or Riley Leonard or somebody that could have come in here and been the X factor on this team. This team's good enough. It's got pieces that are good enough that you put a really good quarterback in that position that can make decisions and make plays. Auburn's in a way better. We're not having this conversation. We're talking about, can we win out and get in the playoffs? We're talking, can we beat A&M, who just got throttled at home, on the road by South Carolina, now looks back down to earth. We wouldn't be talking about it. We'd be going, man, that Iron Bowl is going to be for a lot of marbles because Alabama's got 2 losses. We got 1 loss, blah, blah, blah. But we ain't having that conversation.
No, don't worry about that. Hey, thanks to everybody out there for the comments. We're going to do this every morning, and we're going to have reaction shows. Can't thank Wade and Andy enough on Saturday. I've had a ton of views on the reaction show on Saturday, and we're just getting started with what we're doing here. But Monday, everybody have a great week. If you're looking for customized apparel, screen printing, embroidery promos, call us. A good buddy, my big-time Auburn fan that looked like he's about to throw up when I walked through the door this morning, Bo Glenn behind me, knocking out shirts as we speak. And Sign Source, calling us any sign project that you have, from install to design and print production on sign side. Call on Sign Source and Lee Apparel.
Yeah, we have a lot of stomach bugs in the Auburn fan base right now. It ain't because
I knew the look I was going to get from Bo this morning.
It's pitiful, man. All right, happy Monday to everybody out there. Auburn Blitz will be on at noon. As always, it'll be Andy and Jim. They'll get to lament and cry in their pillow at noon today, so you can cry with them some more, everybody. So, but hey, Auburn's got a basketball game coming up on Wednesday, so we're excited about that. Election tomorrow. Of course, we'll talk about it when we get on the air in the morning. Go out and vote. Go vote. Very important. All right, see you guys.